Come on. Hello.
Hello to the chicos and the chicas again.
Chicas, bienvenidos otra vez.
I checked our recording from yesterday, and I was very happy with it. So I decided to drag Alex down again. And this time round, we are going to engage with one of his masterpieces in the Najdorf.
Come on, let's be modest here. What do you mean masterpieces?
Oh, come on. And that is to promote Alex's courses too a little bit, which is of course Najdorf Simplified. Yeah. So if you are a Najdorf aficionado, but you want to see a really awesome course rather than a Twitter hero like Giri, then I recommend Alex's Najdorf Simplified course. So Alex, what have you got for us today?
Yeah, today actually I was going over my Najdorf games and I found this one, and in fact I realized that based on this game I actually recommended this line in my Najdorf Simplified course, and I think it's good to demonstrate the whole game because it very nicely illustrates these themes that are topical to the Najdorf, which is the control over the d5 square, the good knight bad bishop, seemingly good knight bad bishop situation for white, and so forth. So I think it's a good one to illustrate the good strong points of the Najdorf. So this game was played, as I told Andras, 20 years ago in an open tournament in Barbera in Spain, and my opponent was then a FIDE Master and now an international master. So relatively decent opponent. Okay, so e4, c5. Okay, knight f3, d6, d4 takes, knight f6, knight c3, a6, and now he went for the move bishop e2. And I remember, I've struggled against bishop e2 over the years because I don't know, for some reason it took me some time to get used to these positions after e5 and so forth. But that was like a long time ago. By this point I was already quite confident, even though I think I should note that at the later parts, maybe 15 years ago or something, I started incorporating to be kind of more flexible the Scheveningen options with e6. And then I also did a course on this for chessable, even though that one was without the move a6, so the modern Scheveningen this, not the classical with a6. And I also had great results. So this is a more flexible pawn structure. But the Najdorf principle, Najdorf move is e5, because a6, the point of a6 is to prevent knight db5, like in the Sveshnikov, for example. So e5 was played, knight b3, bishop e7.
Alex, the game that actually turned me around, because I used to play this with white, was of course the classic Unziker Fischer.
Oh yeah.
So that was the game when I realized that having this bishop against the knight is still no guarantee that you have the upper hand, because sometimes black gets so much play with the heavy pieces.
We will get that.
Oh, okay, cool. I'm so excited to see it.
Yeah.
Okay,
so this, no, not castle actually. He played bishop g5.
Oh, okay.
And this was actually quite a popular line at the time, because I think it was a Kramnik who discovered in a way that in the bishop e2 lines, obviously short castle is the main move.
Yeah.
But he kind of discovered that you can actually be more aggressive in these lines and go queen d3 and long castle.
Right.
So this was popular at the time, so my opponent played it for bishop g5, and the idea, of course, a common idea in these structures is that you want to eliminate the knight that controls the d5 square, so you obtain full control of it.
Yeah.
So, and as I recommend in the course, the best move here is bishop e6 to control that square d5. And now we start upon this path of observing how the control over the d5 square is so vital for black in the Najdorf. So he went bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6.
If you don't mind, just let me butt in here for a second. Sure. So the idea of capturing right away is that black's next move is knight d7, and then if we take, we can retake with the knight, and then black has beautiful control of the d5 square. So it doesn't make any sense to play bishop g5 and then not to take immediately.
Exactly. That's the point.
Okay,
Takes, queen d3, okay, preparing long castle. Now bishop e7, going back, defending the pawn on d6 in advance. He castled.
Prophylaxis.
And now knight d7.
Knight d7,
And now my next move would be knight f6, or if I'm allowed b5, knight b6. And again, always fighting for control over the d5 square. So white plays knight d5 before I can do that.
Right. We
take, so eliminate, because then the threat is to take, and then d6 is falling. So I'm taking d5, he takes with a queen. And now we have you could say a standard situation when you could say, okay, but this should be great for white, because he has this absolute control of the d5 square, light squared bishop that can control it, knight. Actually, the knight is the problem. We'll come to that a bit later on. Black has a kind of, we could say, bad bishop, but bad bishops defend good pawns, as we know.
Classic.
Classic, yeah.
Who is the coalition?
I'm not sure.
I think it was Lalic.
Lalic? Nah, I think it's...
No, not Lalic. No, it was... What? Wait. Maybe it was older than that.
Older than Ladic for sure. For sure.
I think I heard it from Ladic, but
Maybe
maybe
Larsen, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
it's for the viewers
yeah,
to
viewers,
investigate.
look it
Yeah,
up,
who
look
said
it up.
bad bishops defend good pawns?
Yeah, look it up. So it looks great, but again, as we shall see, the important is that the black soon enough will play knight f6, knight b6, and take control over the d5 square. So I keep stressing this. I cannot stress it enough that in the Najdorf, these positions with the d6, e5 pawns, it's all about the control of the d5 square.
Can I butt in here for a second, Alex? Because I have an observation that I already made about this position that I always like to point out to my students. So if I look at this position with black, I can count about 6 moves that I'm going to make with black reasonably guaranteed. Queen c7, knight f6, kingside castles, and 1 rook to c8, which is likely.
And b5.
And b5, and maybe even a5, right?
Yeah, exactly.
If I look at the white side of this position, I cannot single out 2 back-to-back moves as an obvious plan available for white, right? So what I like to call this is when pieces reach their maximum potential. Now you could argue that this hasn't reached max potential and maybe this hasn't either, but neither of them have an obvious way/plan to re-enter the game. And so the prospects are better already on the black side because I have so many fluid moves to make that will all add up, and white is more likely going to have to go back, especially after knight f6. So if on the surface, this looks very good for white. As soon as you start thinking deeply about who is doing what, you realize that not so simple.
It's not so obvious at first sight, especially if you look on the surface, but as you will see as the game progresses, how black's potential kind of develops and white's actually lacks it. And what white did here, in fact, I played queen c7 to defend the pawn on b7.
Obvious,
and what white now tried to do is actually what you just mentioned, to increase the let's say potential, improve the position of the light squared bishop. So he went bishop c4, threatening queen f7. I have to castle. And then he went queen d3. So he wants to put the bishop on d5.
Exactly.
And you can say, okay, this is like supernatural, looks good. I mean, the bishop is really dominant on d5 and so forth. But like I said, the control of that square is what matters. Now you could argue that white is controlling it like superbly, like 4 times, but he has controlling it 4 times, but only one piece can be there, not all 4.
And so preferably it should be a knight for starters, right?
Yes, and the knight actually is the problematic piece for white because on b3 really has no prospect. Normally white sometimes goes knight d2, knight d1, knight d3 to land somewhere there, but it's a long way, and normally black has time to prevent it. So I went rook c8, attacking the bishop on c4.
Forcing it actually to where you wanted to go.
And now knight f6. So knight goes to f6, not on b6, so in order to allow for b5 coming next. And now again, we see this like, you have a strong square for white, but all the other pieces, like the queen and the rook, are kind of superfluous pieces, which is a concept I think I first read about it in Dvoretsky's book. But then, for example, funny, when I was analyzing the games of Capablanca for my Capablanca endgame course, I actually found a very good example. The first, actually, if you know that course, the first game I analyzed in that course against Klein actually features this move knight takes d3, getting rid of a super strong knight for a seemingly bad bishop on d3 in order to get rid of the superfluous piece on f4 because the other knight will come to f4.
Exactly, when you have got 2 knights like this, that's the Dvoretsky definition of superfluous because they are on
this
the
one
same
is superfluous.
circuit.
He wants to go there, but the other one is already in that spot. So he will get rid of that one on the good spot so the other one can occupy it. And here it's a good square, yes, but kind of not doing much, but also superfluous for the other 2 pieces.
In fact, it's really bad too because now you're threatening almost to take d5 because the queen is glued to d3.
Exactly, and that's why, for example, to my mind, my opponent made a mistake. He made the natural move king b1, and it was just understood. Now I take that.
So hold on a second, Alex. Is there a way even I can stop this problem?
c3 probably.
That's the only move, right? Because rook d2 still walks into knight
bishop
d5
g5.
and then bishop g5. So that is no go. And c3 is a move
c3, and like b5, then it's coming queen b6, a5, and before maybe just using the...
I think this is the first time when you start looking at what to do here for white, is when you realize that it's black who is having the fun.
Exactly. Hitting some sort of a roadblock.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, you put the bishop there, it looks nice, but then what?
Yeah, we have a pretty piece and not much beyond that.
And I think after king b1, this concept that I keep stressing in the course especially, is that whenever black manages to force white to land on d5 with a pawn, obviously not queen d5
Queen
because
c2,
queen c2, yeah. So landing there with a pawn actually is a great transformation for black because it frees up so much room for black's counterplay. First and foremost, now d5 is occupied by a pawn, which is not a dangerous piece. d6 is no longer a backward pawn that can be attacked, and it frees up this further advance in the center and on the king side, and the bishop can very nicely be activated on the long diagonal or via g5.
Yeah.
So all these are the reasons why this transformation is usually a great one for black. Here, additionally, is that the bishop may look limited, but it's actually the superior piece compared to the knight. Because the knight, again, now, maybe earlier we mentioned this knight e3, knight going to d5, but here d5 is no longer available. And going, for example, to e4 is never stable because f5 would just chase it away.
Very good.
And the knight has no good squares. Where does it go to? Okay, just imagine a good square here. It doesn't have to. While the bishop, just imagine something like this, and the bishop is a fantastic attacking piece already. You know, just imagine the pawn coming to a3 and all sorts of attacking ideas. Right. So all these ideas just mean that here black has a superior chances.
Yeah, I would like to mention though, because many of my viewers are higher rated players who would immediately then counter with a very logical question of, but hang on a second, so what about the English attack where white does get this pawn structure and it's fine? And of course the answer lies in the fact that white there already has a noticeable kingside pressure, kicking the knight on f6.
Yes.
Also having all four minor pieces for black makes it a little bit more cramped, or even just three. Whereas here with one piece left, it's easy to manage the whole position. You don't have the sense of cramp at all.
And in the English attack, for example, there are more pieces, but there usually black already has played b5. And what the development of the English attack, past, I don't know, lately or whatever.
Yeah, decade or so.
Yeah, I mean, what has featured like actually white starting play on the queen side.
Side, exactly, because of b5 has been played.
Yes, and then trying to take advantage of the c6 square, maybe rook landing there, or maybe a knight landing there, and so forth. Leads to very sharp play, very exciting.
Yeah.
But it's a bit different than this position.
Yeah. All right, let's go.
So, okay, e5, I played b5, natural move, He starts pushing on the king side h4, but we will see which attack gets there faster. Okay, a5 now. Okay, my plan is to go a4, a3 and start to weaken the white king's shelter.
Also, b5 is not hanging due to the
introduced
tactic on c2.
So he goes g4. Okay, and now I consulted my notes for which I wrote like 20 years ago. And actually, I've noted here that here already with my next move, I had actually foreseen the combination that follows.
All right. Okay.
And it's funny. I noted in my comments that I hadn't seen how to win against the best defense, but then I checked just now with the computer, and actually it's winning in all lines. So it's kind of a good feeling, that actually the combination was correct.
I would like to add here, Alex, that seeing these moves, if I were playing with this black, I would have liked seeing these, because for a higher rated player, it's clear as sky that this is too late to the party.
It's
right?
just
it might as well just send you a message of, you know what, you can have another go. This is
yes.
I wouldn't want to say laughable, but you're happy to see this because you know that is not going to be a factor in the game at all.
And one important issue also, factor in the position is that actually g4 a bit later on
weakening.
It's weakening because after f5 it will lead to the opening of the f file that black will take advantage of. And that's a common theme in these positions, like f5 and opening the f file for the rook.
I didn't mind h4 because at some occasions you might be able to defend with rook up, but the g4 to me is just very naive. It's like it's
f4 square, so
hope chess. Okay, let's roll.
So I go a4, following my plan. Knight d2. A3, B3, okay, and now comes F5.
Oh, tick.
Exactly.
Neat.
F5.
So let's stop here, Alex, for a second, because this move, I think, is a very, very instructive one, where we're introducing the idea of playing chess on the whole board. This is a move that lower rated players would struggle to find for two reasons. One, tunnel vision on the attack there. Two, the false concept of this weakens my king.
Really? All right.
So can you bust that myth for us? Can you please explain to us why this is in fact an aggressive attacking measure rather than something that weakens our king?
In a way, I think f5, okay, first to explain the issue of the king, I mean, it's not really weakening, even though a bit later we will see the queen actually coming to e6, giving a check and so forth. But the issue here for white is that he cannot support that lone queen wandering around the black king, for example. So there are no pieces to attack. And if a weakness you cannot take advantage of, is it really a weakness?
Exactly.
I wouldn't say so. Okay? So if it's a weakness and you cannot attack it, it's just a theoretical weakness for the books, right? But not practical weakness that you can take advantage of. Right. And I think the move f5 is a kind of also an instructive one, because it introduces this concept of two weaknesses in a way, or like, let's say positionally or tactically, trying to, I don't know, actually I struggle with the term. Is it like deviation, or like when you want to remove a defender from
deflection, you mean?
Deflection, okay.
Yeah, deflection.
Deflecting the queen from d3, so the black king can,
or decoying.
Those are
decoy or deflection.
Okay, so the black queen can come to c3.
That's lovely. That's a beautiful idea.
Here it's so this combination of these factors, opening the f file for the rook and so forth, and the deflection of the queen, just okay. As I said, I calculated this at the point of when a4 was played. Okay, so he actually takes the rook. And the point is that after queen c3,
they check and sack the queen.
No, he can play knight c4.
Oh, knight c4.
So he wins. So he wins exchange. Because I can take that knight. He wins because otherwise king c1 just two. Yeah? So the only move to defend against mate against b2. And I take rook c4. Yeah. Okay, still threatening mate. Okay. So he goes king c1.
Right. Okay. Just for the record, very quickly, I want to show that this check does not actually accomplish anything. You can even go h8, I think, because you're covering
probably.
Yeah?
But this will happen. This will happen in the game.
I bet.
This will happen in the game. Yeah.
But that's one check. That's
it's one check.
Pony.
But actually, it's better to go here, because when the rook will come to f4, and then just in case that there are no mating
for sure.
So king c1 is the only way to avoid mate, and now rook f4. And this was like what I was calculating. Okay, he gave the check.
Hold on a second, Alex. Sorry, let me just quickly, for the viewers as well as for myself. So you must have calculated queen b2, and you concluded that it's not good enough because king d2 check, king e2, and note how the queen is guarding c2. Yes. So there is no headway to be made, and we are actually forcing the white king into safety.
Again, away from the danger zone.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why I prefer to keep the queen here, not to let the king escape, and then go rook f4, rook f2 if possible.
Remember, the threat is always or often is stronger than the execution. So keep this in, add the new threat, and then take it from there. Very nice.
So very nice maneuver of the rook c8, rook c4, rook f4, and then just joining the f file. So he gave check, king f8.
Yeah, very good.
Okay, just not to have back row in comments. And this was the situation where I thought, this is what my notes say, that I thought the strongest move, and the engine proves that it's the strongest move, but still it's losing. It was the move rook f1.
Rook f1,
Simply stopping.
Stopping. That's what I was looking at. Was it played?
No, it wasn't. He actually played rook h3, trying to get rid of my queen.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But rook f1, and here actually after rook h4, black is just winning because it
bishop g5.
It introduces the threat of bishop g5, and after f4, then just rook h2. I think.
Ooh, now that's nice because that allows a discovered check.
Yeah, but I think just bishop f6 should probably win, and the king escapes. Even though if this is too complicated, black can also play e4 first, just to stop.
Right.
This is what I actually analyzed. Rook h2 wins, but e4 is just stopping and introducing bishop f6.
And also e3 now.
E3 and queen a1.
Yummy.
Yummy. Just everything.
I think I would rather play.
Yeah, e4 is just more.
Because then you don't have to calculate.
You don't have to calculate. Exactly.
Clean.
So this was better. Even though obviously we see it loses, but my opponent went rook h3. Okay, just trying to get rid of the queen.
But now it's very logical.
Yeah, but now just everything collapses because rook h2 after queen b2. Here rook check. Okay, the queen no longer defends c2. Yeah. So he went king e1 and now queen
takes c2. Yeah. And now e2 is a mate.
And now it's mate. Yeah. So okay, he went. Bear also noticed that the queen is protecting c8, so there are no checks. Queen g4 to stop.
Mate on e2,
but now rook f4 again.
Oh, now
queen f2 is a threat. Okay, and he went queen e2, but now bishop h4 and just.
And then you. We just mop up the board.
Yeah, it's
after the queen trade. Yeah,
three pawns up in a rook endgame or so forth. Yeah. And here he resigned. So
wow.
Yeah, nice game I think. Just showing this potential that black has with this queenside attack in the Najdorf in this structure d5, d6, and the pawns are there, and also showing the superiority of the bishop. Yeah, and the problematic knight on b3 that he can always use as a hook for an attack, attacking it, pushing a3, weakening the structure around the white king.
You know, Alex, it's very interesting thinking back about this game, about what white has done.
Yeah.
I think this is typically that game that falls under the category where the white player after the game goes like, I lost this game and I can't simply point out what I did wrong. Right? That is the textbook case when you play a game and you just go like, I didn't blunder anything.
Exactly.
And I feel like I didn't even get to fire a shot. Like it was just...
Exactly. And this is very nice, I think, especially in the Najdorf, because often in the Najdorf you get this kind of rollover wins. This type of wins where white seemingly doesn't make any mistakes, but they're just crushed. And the point is, again, in the potential that the black position has. We spoke about this at the beginning, right? Black's potential was so good and so strong, like pushing on the queen side, attacking and so forth, whereas white's position lacked this potential. What can white do? It's not quite obvious. For black, very obvious. For white, not so obvious. And when you play obvious moves, obvious plans, games tend to roll in your direction. And this is a good example. Yeah, you just play natural moves. None of the black's moves were any particularly difficult. Okay, probably some calculation to the exchange sacrifice, but it's not too difficult. Yeah, it just flows naturally. You know, just attacking. And white, like, he tried to improve the position of the bishop. Looks natural, logical, but just achieves nothing, right? And I think this is a kind of why I think the Najdorf is such a good opening, because it just it gives this potential, this good future prospects for black, for an attack also, and the games can roll like this unexpectedly, I would say.
It's like the London, except it's good, right? Because you also can follow patterns and schemes. Like against the ED5 structure, you have the standard, patterns of B5, play for F5, enjoy the long diagonal with the bishop. But you are on the back of a very sound, proper opening, right? This is how beautiful opening theory and understanding structures and plans can overlap, make you a very, very solid player.
Yes. And again, as I explained in the course, I mean, in the Najdorf, you don't, I mean, if you have this sound understanding of the positional factors evolving around the D5 square, around the D5 square, then you don't really need to remember all that theory. Yeah, you can just play on understanding, and this is what I try to do in the Najdorf simplified course, to show people that you can play the Najdorf with understanding, not just theory and memorization.
Funnily enough, though, what happens there, and I think it's important to note that if you understand the structure and the plans, you are likely going to play theory.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
So
that's
you
true.
actually go
that's
back
true.
to the main road via a different route, which is that you understand what the plan is, and almost all the time the right plan will take you back to theory.
And when you understand the plan, you understand the concepts, your calculations tend to be precise and accurate because they follow the right direction. They go in the right direction. So
awesome.
I think good illustration, this game.
Lovely. Well, Alex, thank you so much, man. This was a really enjoyable game, and I think it is an eye-opener to people to see that there is more than one way to understand and play an opening and play it well. And granted, you need to learn lines, but you also, if you are, if you possess the ability to retain plans and understand these plans associated with certain lines, it's smooth sailing. So lovely game, lovely demonstration. Thank you very much again. Thank you, guys. Stay tuned. We'll be back with the next one.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.